Hello and welcome back to Football 301. I am your host, Nate Tice. We are entering week 6 of the NFL season. We are going to be previewing it today through the lens of some rookie quarterbacks making their starts. Some first starts, some continued starts. Some are involved in big games. Some are involved in minor games that we just want to talk about because we think it's interesting. That we is my usual Thursday cohort. Is it cohort? It's cohort.
Yeah,
I'm calling you my cohort.
Depends the activity.
Yes. But that cohort that comrade is Mr. Verts, Charles McDonald. How are you doing today, Charles?
Doing all right. Getting over a little bit of a cold. It's just,
Same.
it's like I would probably, if I had to rate it like 1 out of 10, it's probably like a 1.5 or a 2. But it's just like, it's sitting there, and you know how men are. So like, I'm ready to die.
Face.
Yeah.
Just a little jab in the face.
Like, I feel fine, and then my nose just starts leaking out of nowhere. And I'm like, well, I don't know what this is.
Why I say yep is because I have the same exact cold. And I feel like I'm on the tail end of it, hopefully. So, yeah, I know. We both, I think, on the same day, the same time, we're like, I got this annoying cold. It's like, I got this annoying cold, too. I'm like changing out filters all around the house. I'm like, is it allergies?
Same. I did the same exact thing.
Because it was just that minor little leak. No one cares. But it's annoying. It really is annoying. And, yeah, so if you hear me cough a few times, that's why. But it is an interesting week. We are getting into bye weeks, which also helps. I know they started last week, but that helps us narrow down the focus for some of these games. We're going to deep dive to a couple of them. Really, the ones focused with the quarterbacks, some bigger than others. And then after we talk about these rookie quarterbacks and their games and the Haas fight of the week, which I think is a really fun one, we're also going to get to your mailbag questions. Finally, we have some good ones. Can't wait to get to those at the end of the show. But like I said, it's rookie time, rookie quarterback time. It's all anyone wants to talk about, quarterbacks and rookie quarterbacks. And we got a really fun one in a battle between the Commanders and the Ravens. You have Jayden Daniels, who has been the story of this rookie quarterback class so far, the surprising Commanders and their offense, now going to the Ravens, who are playing some fantastic football, even though they got into a little bit of shootout against the Bengals, but they sit at 6.5-point favorites against a team that's been winning games in Washington. So, Jayden Daniels against this Ravens defense. What are you checking out, Chuck? I think I want to dive on both sides of this ball. I think this is probably one of the games of the weekends, even if it is a bigger spread. It's just a very interesting game. But when the Washington has the ball, Jayden Daniels has the ball, going against this Ravens defense that's been playing some interesting ball. What are you focusing on? What are you checking out?
I don't mean to sound like a hater when I say this, but like, is anyone just going to stop one of these go balls? and to be clear,
I have some stats on this too.
Yeah, I don't even know if the Ravens are the team that can do that right now.
No,
because I look at this game. You see what happened in Cincinnati last week, especially like later in the game where just bombs away between Burrow and Chase. Like you had a 70-yard touchdown late. You had a catch and run touchdown that was like 65 yards. So this Baltimore defense, they're kind of doing the same thing they did when Mike McDaniel got hired as the head coach. For those of you who have forgotten, that's when Tua had his 6 touchdown game. They got everyone hyped about, what was going on over there in Miami. But then they tightened up. But I don't think that they're at the point in the season yet where they tighten up, or either like this is going to be the spark that turns them around. Like all of a sudden, like, oh wait, no, we have Roquan Smith and Marlon Humphrey and all these guys at safety and defensive line, and it's clicking. But just like what we're looking at, what we know, I don't really see any reason for the Jayden Daniels train to stop this upcoming week. And I feel like this game has, again, for Baltimore, just like prime shootout potential, because I don't really think that Washington defense stands a prayer, like a chance to stop what Baltimore has going on offense right now. So shootout
points.
It's probably gonna be a little annoying. Lots of points,
Yeah, it's perfect. This is the former 2 towns of the Baltimore Bullets and the Washington Bullets, who are now the Washington Wizards. So this is perfect because it is gonna be a little bit of a shootout. This game, though, starting, but I kind of dove into numbers, watching both things. The Commanders' offense has a pretty solid run game. Jayden Daniels is very accurate, and then he'll punish you if you don't guard deep, especially throwing to the right. Throwing to the left has become a little bit of a thing that I'm keeping my eye on with Jayden Daniels. He leans a little right. I looked at the Ravens, and they kind of botch covering deep balls, especially this year. And it's eye test. Just watch the Bengals game. But then I dove more into the numbers, and yeah, I think they might pop one. This might be a Terry deep ball game, 1 or 2. And I think they'll catch them. I think they're going to try a bunch. I do think this Ravens run defense is really good. Statistically, it's one of the best in the league. I think that matches eye test. The front, the linebackers are smart. Roquan's a little iffy in coverage right now, but he is good. Roquan Smith, but he is good against the run. But defending deep balls. So I looked into True Media. 42 throws of 15 or more air yards the Ravens defense has defended. They've allowed the 4th highest success rate. They've allowed the 2nd most yards per game on those throws, 129 yards per game on deep throws, only behind the Jags. You don't want to be in the Jags defense territory right now. And they've surrendered, you'll love this, 1.13 EPA per deep throw.
Jesus Christ.
42 throws, over 42 points they've allowed in expected points. That is where I think if you're the Commanders, you still continue to run. You still continue to do the kind of some of the nickel and dime stuff. The Ravens defense is solid against shorter throws, but not great, not overwhelmingly good. They're a pretty good tackling team, but catch them deep, catch them trying to make a mistake. And that I think will blow the whole game open or pop the whole game open. They are good against scrambles though. I will say that they are a good tackling team just overall, but the Ravens defense, they've only faced 6 scrambles this year. They've only allowed 1 first down against some decent scramblers too. Mahomes, of course, was the only guy that got the first down. But that's one thing I'll keep an eye on is that I think they are going to keep Daniels in the box, but I think this is a Daniels throw game, and I think it's a Daniels explosive play game on that side of the ball. So, and then you mentioned the other side. Is there any reason why you don't think this Commanders defense is going to stop the Ravens offense? Yeah. It's a terrible matchup for him.
It really is. Like, where do you even start? Because there's so many advantages. Like, they could get bludgeoned, they could get diced up through the air because Lamar Jackson's playing like out of his mind right now. So I think this game has full shootout potential. But at the end of the day, like, the Ravens defense is a little bit better. But just looking at where the Commanders are on defense, I mean, this side of the ball has been what we expected it to be.
Yeah.
They're one of the worst units.
Not in a good way.
Not in a good way, right. Like, they're one of the worst units in the league versus a run, versus a pass. Like, they don't really do anything well. And it's just crazy. Like, when you watch what happened last week in Cleveland, I'm like, Cleveland, like, dude, like, you can't take advantage of this defense. Like, your season's over, because that game didn't change anything that I thought about what I thought about the Commanders' defense. So I kind of still expect them to get killed this game. I don't really think they'll have any answers for the Lamar, Derrick Henry tandem. And Lamar is kind of in a spot right now where I don't really know if it matters, like, who is that receiver for him all the time. Like, it seems like it's been a little
kind of
bit
Mahomesy a little bit,
right? A little Mahomesy in a little bit, because so even last week, we were talking about it off to the side where it was like, God damn, like, Zay Flowers had the most annoying game ever. And then you look up, he's got like 11 catches for like 120 yards, something like that. It's like okay, Lamar's he's in a different stratosphere. And I don't think that this is a quarterback that Dan Quinn is ready to game plan for. And I don't think they have the talent to even get it across the finish line. So they'll need Jayden Daniels to just keep scoring, because I think Lamar and Derrick Henry are going to put up more than enough to cover their side of the deal.
To use an old coaching adage that we hear all the time, it's if you have a bad defense like this, you just have to create turnovers. That's what watch the Cardinals last week against the 49ers. Yeah, you're popping us in the face, but we'll make you make that one mistake, and our offense can do enough to kind of control. That's what they have to play like, because like you said, it's not a great style matchup for the Commanders defense. They are all light bodies. They run exclusively nickel and dime. The Ravens last week, 2/3 of their plays feature 2 or fewer receivers. Like, they are going to bully you. And the Commanders have been okay against the heavier personnel, but this is just a totally different beast. Defending Derrick Henry, defending Patrick Ricard in I formation runs. Like, this is just not this is not what they defend well. The Ravens are first in explosive run rate, second in combined. I'm just going to call it SEX rate now, which is success rate and explosive run rate. Well, I'm just going to shorten it because it does make it a lot easier, and people remember it, hopefully. But they're second in SEX rate on rundowns, and the Commanders are dead last in the same metric. So it's kind of obvious it feels obvious on that side of the ball, but I think for Commanders defense, just hope for a turnover. I do think my prediction is the Ravens pull this off. I do think the Commanders cover though. It's 6.5, and I think it's going to be closer than maybe. Even if I do think the Commanders are a little wonky right now with how well they are playing and maybe some drop off, I do think they actually match up okay. So do think they might cover and keep it under a touchdown. All right, moving on to a debut and also kind of another upset or potential upset of the week, or at least cover of the week. we got the Texans going to Foxborough to play the Patriots in Drake Maye's debut, the number 3 overall pick, stepping in for Jacoby Brissett, who gave his valiant effort. God, he's got, that's the thing, is no one wants to get too negative on Jacoby. Everyone's just like, yeah, you did what you did.
Send him back to Cleveland.
I know. I love that idea from you. Because good vibes, man.
And he was good for them.
He was. I know. And he's perfect for them. He's not going to ask too much. He was not going to make mistakes. He can actually run an offense and call the plays right, which is probably an issue in Cleveland right now. But Drake Maye is debuting. The Patriots are a touchdown underdog. So I don't know what you want to focus on here. I think this is a pretty fun matchup because the Texans are facing a lot of injuries too on offense. They might be out both their tackles. I'm not sure what they practiced today, but they both tackles, Larry Tunsil and the right tackle, Howard, did not practice on Wednesday. So when you're watching this game, what you checking out? Want to just focus on Drake Maye, or do you want to check out maybe the other side of the ball, Texans and the Patriots defense?
They're doing him such a disservice by putting him into an NFL game, right? You know, like, holy crap.
Share your take. Yeah, actually, I want you to basically share your tweet because I agree with essentially all of it.
Like, stop crying about this. Like, I really don't understand because people. I understand why people are like, okay, you know, you're going to put him in against the Texans pass rush. Okay.
Yeah.
And like, is that going to be like the only tough pass rush that he sees all season? And and also
plays the Jets twice.
Right. Plays the Jets twice, plays the Bills twice. He played the Dolphins twice. Like the Dolphins, like when they're healthy, they have good pass rushers too. Mm-hmm. So this fear of starting rookie quarterbacks against like a tough opponent, I don't think it's something that people who say it have even like examined it fully, like what they're actually saying. Because to me, if I were so scared that if I put Drake Maye out there with a bad offensive line against Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter, if I'm so scared that will ruin his career, I should have never drafted him number 3 in the first place. Like never, because that just means you suck. Like you're a horrible, no good quarterback. If one game against a tough opponent is going to ruin you, because and also what I think people have kind of ignored, like, have you not watched like how playing in poor environment has made Caleb Williams a better quarterback every single week of the season? Like he's not making the same, 20-yard negative plays that he was in week 1. Like you're mitigating those. And that's something that every quarterback has to learn how to do. So the idea that you put him in against this game against the Texans. We know the offensive line is not good. We know the Texans have good pass rush, but so what? So what? Like every team has somewhere, almost every team, especially against a team like the Patriots, almost every team has some facet of their defense that can take advantage of the Patriots offense. And if we're going to start from, the Patriots have the worst offensive line in the league. Well, you know how long it takes to fix a bad offensive line? It takes years. So What, you're going to sit them next year too? No. Stop being scared. Understand what you're actually saying. I feel like what people mean to say is, I don't think Drake Maye's that good and this could ruin his career. Because if one game's going to ruin it, that means he was awful from the jump. And I think that that's crazy to think.
You want to see the guys overcome it. And hopefully you watched them in college overcome it, like Drake Maye did at North Carolina, especially in that last year. I know I'm with you. I've gone back and forth whether, the quarterbacks sit or do you play. I have leaned always more towards playing them, like what you said. As long as you think like in practice, it's like, okay, this guy can at least operate the offense. All right, then hopefully if you draft him top 5, he has the talent that's obvious should be out there. If you're worried about him mentally at that point, it's like, okay, but hopefully he has the talent to just overcome it. Let's just simplify it and go. I think Maye is pretty smart. I think he showed a lot more than people gave him credit for last year at North Carolina. So that's why I've always thought he's going to be more advanced than people make him out to be. He's not going to be total Josh Allen coming out of Wyoming, who played as a rookie in a terrible situation.
And
they were 17 or 20 point underdogs to the Vikings, and they straight up won in Minnesota. Like, you never know. It's the National Football League,
you never know,
man. You never know. And even the Patriots, sorry, this is also another thing. As a guy that was a career backup, I totally relate to this. It's a lot easier when you're watching yourself on tape and going like, I can't make that mistake. I can get away with this. Yeah, you can translate stuff from Jacoby Brissett, but I'd rather my franchise guy get more reps of him making mistakes or him doing good things or learning experiences. Scott Tolzien had a great line about that at Wisconsin when I backed him up when he took over his junior year. someone's like, what's the biggest difference? He goes, well, I actually get to watch myself. He goes, as opposed to all the other guys I've been backing up the last couple of years. So
the last thing I had on that was, if let's say Drake Maye goes out there and just gets pants by the Texans, which is possible. The only people that are freaking out about it are us, like on the other side of the media. Like you talk to coaches and other players, you're like, hey, it's a game.
Another week.
It happens. Well, hopefully we'll get him next week. But It's like we have to get better at blocking out like our own noise about this stuff, because we've seen we got people calling Jayden Daniels the MVP of the league. Like we've seen how harsh like the takes can swing in either direction just day by day by day. So look, just take a breath. You got 12 games of Drake Maye coming up. Take it all in at the end of it, because you're not equipped to do it week by week. Just take it all in by the end of it.
It was supposed to be a learning. You had no ambition this year. You shouldn't have any ambition this year. Hey, so yeah,
we're trying to figure it out.
I will say, schematically, the Patriots offense actually has a couple okay answers for the Texans defense, more than you would think, because they can run the ball. And they can run it out of two tight ends with Hunter Henry and what's your guy's name? Austin Hooper, former Falcon.
Yeah. Wow. How
Not
his career turned out. No, I am. It just, every time I think of Hooper, it just made me think about like how upset the fan base was when he didn't get re-signed. And I'm like, hey, he's just a guy.
He kind of peaked out.
Hayden Hurst came in and did the same exact thing that Hooper was doing.
It turns out when you're in a really good offense, it really helps out. But they'll run out two tight ends. They'll deal with a lot of balance formations out of it against this Texans defense that trots out a lot of nickel. I mean, exclusively nickel. They're pretty garbage defending the pass out of 12, and the Patriots like to do it. So, they're 26 in passing success rate against 12. They allow explosive play on a quarter of those throws. So that is a thing that they'll get. I think they can maybe pop them a couple times. And the last thing is I think Drake Maye is going to run a lot. Texans are dead last in scramble EPA. They've allowed over 11 yards per scramble, decent amount of scrambles too. That's just because of the man coverage stuff. That's why I thought Josh Allen was going to get him, and he did later in the game. That game was such a wonky game. Rewatching it, I actually really feel weird. Okay. Yeah, it's such a wonky game. But the late downs, they're half the time it's cover one. They blitz a bunch, so there's no eyes on the quarterback. Bullets are flying. Maye gets pressured. I can see him running for a little bit. So check out that player prop over wherever you get your gambling at. But that is. BetMGM, yes. But that's a sneaky one I really do like. But I think it's an interesting game. Like I do think the Patriots, as long as they play within themselves, they actually got to keep it closer because their defense is okay. And CJ Stroud freaking rocks. Wrote about him. Awesome. Might be my favorite for MVP. Him and Lamar, probably. Burrow a little bit. Burrow's pretty freaking good right now. What?
I was trying to think like if there's any area that I was trying to think if there's any area besides scrambles I think the Patriots can kind of get them. And
it's running exclusively. Running with the running backs and a Maye running. And
because these guys ain't getting up against Stingley. And even Lassiter's played pretty well too.
He's he's much better the last couple of weeks. The NFL is a matchup league, and especially when you get into cover one, that is as matchup as it gets. Watch the Broncos defense. We're about to talk about them. Watch them in man coverage, swamp everybody because their DBs rock. Watch last week, third down, Bills. ISO, MVS against Derek Stingley. Wasn't even a battle. It was such a womp. Like Allen threw it perfectly on time. It's going right to MVS's chest, and their Stingley just like boop, just bobs it down. Like what was that? Like really? That was third down? All right, cool. Yeah, it helps to have those guys. Gotta know your matchups though. Sorry, Jalen Polk. All right, so that is the first two rookies, and then we're going to take a quick break and get back to a couple more rookies, the Haas fight of the week. And then after that, we'll get to the mailbag. See you guys in a second. All right, we are back going to the AFC West with a rookie that has played throughout this year, started in week one. It's been quite an adventure for him. That is Bo Nix, who are hosting the Chargers. The Broncos are 3-point underdogs. That is interesting to me because their defense rocks. And so the Chargers defense also sneaky good Chargers defense. But when you're watching this game, you don't even have to focus on Bo Nix, but just generally watching this game, which I think is more interesting than it first meets the eye. Charles, what are you checking out? What are you watching on?
I mean, we could talk about Bo Nix, but I don't it's not as fun. I mean, yeah,
the Broncos defense is fun.
Broncos
That's the fun part.
I will say this about Bo. Congratulations. Like you finally put up like respectable box score stats like towards the end of the game. Still, slogging through some of the process stuff, but baby steps. Yes. And honestly, to even have a game where you got that many yards, big step ahead from where you were over the past month of football. So hat tip to Bo Nix, but that's all I got on the Broncos offense. I think on the flip side though, the Broncos defense. Okay, this is related, but I've been laughing at for like the past day, or Pat Surtain was like, we need to come up with a nickname for me and Riley Moss. But it's true because you have the novelty of Riley Moss being a white cornerback, but he's also
who wears white sleeves.
Right, who wears white sleeves, right. It's like all the memes are there. I think he was the first white cornerback to get an interception this past weekend since like Jason Sehorn was like 2002 or 2003 or something like that. So hey, he's breaking color barriers right here. But he actually is a fantastic player that gives them like you already have best cornerback in football in Surtain. Now you have a credible number 2 who is playing like he could be a number 1 on some teams. And not only that, but I think the defensive line is playing better than maybe because we were on the train like this is a credible defense, probably a good defense, but I wasn't really expecting them to be like possibly the best defense in football through the first 5 weeks of the season. So like the defensive line has stepped up, the cornerback play is legitimately insane. And to me, like if I'm looking at this defensive back room against the Chargers wide receivers, like this is a smothering. This is just a beat down. So you might if Justin Herbert's healthy and feeling 100%, it's probably gonna need some heroics to get some points scored against his defense because I don't really know if they have the personnel to match up to it.
This is gonna be a fist fight because the Broncos kind of figure out their formula, which is kind of again, what we kind of thought going into the year. It's Sean Payton with kind of a bully O-line, pretty good run game and just nice and safe pass game. And that is what it felt like last week. I was like, oh yeah, this is the formula. This works. But that defense rocks. I'm glad you brought up Riley Moss. Next Gen Stats had a great stat going this week. Pat Surtain has allowed the second lowest EPA per target. Riley Moss is one of the top 5 guys as well. They are making Surtain and Moss just one of the 5 cornerback duos that both allow a negative EPA per target so far this year. So it's like, this is the legit duo. They run a ton of man coverage and they're able to do that. They just press everybody too. They press, they stick you up, and then they make you beat them. And so far, not a lot of guys are beating them. I legitimately think Surtain should be a defensive player of the year front runner, or at least in the conversation. I'm glad he brought up the front. DJ Jones rocks. He's tied for the league right now in stuffs, which is tackles for no yards or no gain or TFL. Outright leads the league in stuff rate. Zach Allen rocks. They have guys like Malcolm Roach stepping up. He came over from the Saints. John Franklin Myers is playing well. They got some pass rushers getting after it with Nick Benito and stuff. So really, really good defense that's first in success rate allowed, first in explosive plays allowed, going against an offense that wants to win with jabs, get to the red zone and go, hey, Justin, go do some stuff. And Justin Herbert. So yeah, I'm curious how this goes. I think it's going to be a kind of a sloggy game. The Chargers defense is pretty damn good too. They are, God, I had some stats on them, but they're 4th in rushing sex rate. Have to bring that one up. I know, I got to say, they tackle really well too, which is why, kind of just really stick them, keeping the short gains. The only thing is Chargers, of course, are facing a ton of injuries. They have 9 players in practice as limited participants. They had 7 players in practice as non-participants. That's 16 players as limited or non, and that's including Derwin James, classic. Joey Bosa. So pretty good defense, but this, Bo Nix could find some answers. They're playing sound and everything, but I think it's just gonna be a real nice little fist fight going on.
Yeah, I think this West. Is we get back to like a 2.5 yards per attempt game for old Bo.
It's gonna it feels tight. It feels tight. And then the other side, it's just I want to see like Ladd, McConkey going against these receivers or against these DBs. We got a little Wisconsin BYU kind of thing going on in basketball where you will the matchup with Riley Moss and Ladd McConkey. But then we got, Surtain going against those guys too. So that's a sneaky good matchup too. Like a little cruiserweight fight going on over there with Ladd going against those DBs. So really good. Yeah. Better than you would think.
Cruiserweight.
It is, because when we do Haas fight the other day, you did Justin Jefferson and Sauce Gardner, which I loved. And I was like, oh, cruiserweight battle. Yeah, that's a good house fight too. All right, next up, we're going to your division, but not your team, the NFC South. We have the Bucs at the Saints. The Saints are 3.5-point underdogs, likely because they are also starting a rookie, a day 3 rookie in Spencer Rattler, who at one point was kind of the guy of his class before I ended up transferring to South Carolina. I got beat up with Caleb Williams. Stuff happened. Kind of reclaimed his career. Dude's got a lot of talent. This is a natural football thrower. Someone that watched the SEC, Charles, what you have any thoughts on Spencer Rattler? Also, in just going into this game, how do you kind of maybe think it shapes up against this Bucs defense and Todd Bowles?
This is going to sound terrible, but as a Georgia fan, Spencer Rattler is like the only Gamecocks player I've respected since like
Clowney.
Steve Spurrier was the coach. Like, yeah. It's like around that area, that era. Yeah.
10 years,
so
it's
been
ago.
Yeah. It's funny because I was actually
I'm really trying to think now.
I was looking up because even Stephon Gilmore, like that was before Clowney.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
So it's been a long time since they've had like real dudes. Like you got Xavier Leggett this past year, but you know,
who's the running back with the bad knee? He was a Balky special.
Marcus Lattimore.
Yeah.
Because I used to get Marcus and Marshawn mixed up all the time when Marshawn got drafted.
I was letting you get the first names.
Yeah.
I was like, I knew it was Lattimore, but I was letting you do the first names. That's why I asked the question.
but you know, for real, like for South Carolina to land a quarterback like that was a big deal for them. And I think, or not towards the end of last season, really like the entire season last year, he kind of gave them a chance to do some things on offense that, you know, maybe the surrounding cast outside of Xavier Leggett wouldn't really suggest you could do anything. The offensive line was horrible. So
like historically bad. Like if you look at statistical measures, it's like one of the worst offensive lines you'll see in major college football.
Yeah, really, really bad. So I try to like temper my expectations here because I just remember like back before Spencer got basically, you know, booted out of there by Caleb Williams. Like, we were talking about Spencer as like a potential number 1 overall pick, just strictly based on like the arm talent and some of the throws that you would see down the field. So
he was the guy getting Rodgers comparisons.
Right, he was first. Yeah. And then, you know, some things happen, got to transfer, and it didn't end the way he thought it was going to end, but he's still in a spot where, hey, the Saints don't want to be tied to Derek Carr. You know, like if you can come in here and show some stuff over however long he's out, that would actually be a pretty big deal for his future and the team's future. I don't want to get too ahead of myself because I think when you're looking at, you know, even though I think he merited a higher draft pick, still was a 5th round pick, still got to, you know, give him the runway to be bad. But this is I do think that he's a pretty good fit in this offense because you're talking about like the athletic requirements that we usually talk for Shanahan tree quarterbacks. I think he should fit right in. He's got the live arm. I think he's more accurate than people probably remember him being at South Carolina. So I think that this could actually work out. But you know, Bowles is still a tough defense to go against in your first start.
But it's Todd Bowles.
Like, I know that this Tampa Bay defense hasn't been like down to down what we've expected, but it's still a lot coming at you if you're a rookie quarterback.
It is. It's like easier said than done. It's always like one of these things like, well, this guy's really mature. And then they get thrown into that fire and it's like, oh, yeah, this is hard, huh? Much easier for me watching on film afterwards, going like, oh, rewinding it 15 times, going like, you didn't see that safety? Yeah, like, you know, Rattler, even going into this draft process, I ended up, you got to really watch him because, like you said, it was such a tough system that he had, surroundings that he had to overcome. He's used to shaky pockets, I'll say that, but it was truly a war zone in the backfield. Every time he dropped back, it was so rough, and you almost felt bad. And he's still trying to chuck that ball. He's aggressive. Like, this guy is just a natural ball thrower. I'll say that again. He really spins it. This was actually a good landing spot for him. Like, this really was, as far as just kind of trajectory, get a chance. I mean, obviously he's getting a real chance here, but even going into his draft process, I know he ended up in the 5th round. I had Rattler in the same tier as Nix and Penix, and I had Rattler above him, like slightly, but above him. I think he really has talent. I do think there is a chance for him to be a starter in this league. We'll see what we got here. You know, it's hard, but we'll see what we got. So, and like you said, throwing on the move is an important thing in this offense, and he throws really well on the move. So, not ideal going against this Bucs defense, going against Bowles, but let's see what you got. let's see what you got out there. I think he'll have a couple of highlights that will be pretty interesting to watch afterwards. All right, going on away from the rookie quarterbacks, moving on to our Haas fight of the week. And this is an offense that I think will get nominated a few times this year. This is the Cardinals offense going against the Packers defense. I think it's a pretty fun matchup overall, just both sides of the ball, but especially this side of the ball. So when you are watching Cardinals offense and their kind of no-name offensive line with Paris Johnson Jr., but some maulers up there going against this Packers defense, what you checking out, Charles?
I kind of want to see just how the Packers handle like the whole run, like the whole rushing offense. And I think a big part of that this week is going to be Kyler scrambles, because he's been awesome when he breaks the pocket this year. I'm pretty sure he's one of the better quarterbacks by efficiency metrics in terms of just scramble yardage. Next Gen Stats has him number 2. Packers defense is number 20 against defending quarterback scrambles. So that to me is kind of the edge, because Kyler, if you can scramble and still keep your offense like on script and keep them in plus chains, like that really changes the dynamic of how you can start to defend everything, because not only are you defending the first play's defense, like the second play of Kyler doing something, whether he's scrambling or if he's going to scramble behind the line of scrimmage and then find Marvin or find another receiver, like when he's at his best, you have to defend 2 plays at a time when you're a defense. And when you're a defense that doesn't really have like a whole bunch of speed like up front, and your linebacker room is like they're fast, but they're not always doing the right thing, Not
always pointing in the right direction.
They're not always pointing in the right direction, I think that's an area where they could take advantage. Not just college scrambles, but also like, I think James Conner's a pretty nice season so far. I know the nerds are going to get me. They can just like establish the run game and really just start blowing guys off the ball, then everything gets so much easier. You don't have to get like trapped to where you're throwing like deep shots to Marvin Harrison against Jair Alexander. You can kind of do whatever you want. And I think the Cardinals, they really have a chance to get that going pretty early in the game.
I actually think this is a decent matchup for the Cardinals. That's kind of why I wanted to talk about, because one great point with Kyler stuff, even just outside scrambles, like Rashawn Gary has always been susceptible to zone reads. He is, oh my God, he is just blind, just a bull seeing red when on those zone reads. He is running right after the running back. And you know, else is like that, Nick Bosa. And the Cardinals got him last week. They set it up perfectly. They ran like 3 zone reads at him, just did the same play over and over. And it's really funny because you can see Bosa every play, he cheats in a little bit closer. It's the same formation, so you can really see. And it wasn't a different front either. So he just kept cheating. And then he thinks he's got it. And then Kyler keeps it for a big game. We actually set up their kind of final drive to win the game. So I actually am looking at those little zone reads, but this is duo, baby. This is my run. The Cardinals are going to pound this thing, I think, in this game. So last week, the Packers play the Rams, who also run a lot of duo. Very at you run, very power run, a lot of double teams, a lot of physicality. You need your tight ends to get involved in it. I know I'm obnoxious about this play. It's also turned out to be the best play against the Vikings. You nodded your head. I saw that. But it is the best run against the Vikings, not zone. I figured that out. But the Packers defense, against duo, they allow 4.7 yards per carry, middle of the pack success rate. But let's look at these Arizona Cardinals, how they are on duo, my friend Charles. I looked this all up through FTN Fantasy. The Cardinals have run 42 duo runs this year, second most in the league. They have run those for 297 yards, a crisp 7.1 yards per carry, 52.4% success rate, which is 9th, easily the highest yards per carry, second most attempts. So look for 2 tight ends and look for the Cardinals just run down the throat with James Conner. I wish I could be more sexy than that and have something cooler to say, but it's as standard as it gets. It's going to be a 4-3 defense going against 2 tight ends and some bully ball going on. Maybe some bootlegs with Kyler. Packers are a little iffy on those. Maybe a Marvin Harrison Jr. dig route. Look for that. But I think they're going to be trying to get that run game going against this. So I think it's going to be interesting.
Classic. We're going to step forward and displace people and run the ball.
watch the second half against the 49ers. That's literally what they said. Let's stop overthinking this. They ran like 2 different runs. It was like duo and zone read. That's it. They ran the entire second half and it worked. But no, and the Packers defense, of course, Xavier McKinney's having an awesome year. Lucas Van Ness actually has a lot of really good moments too. Hopefully he sees more playing time as well. But their linebackers are a little blind. They're fast, but they can go in the wrong spots. So I think that's what duo can get. If they get one wrong step, boom, there's James Conner getting 7 yards. All right. Lions and Cowboys. Interesting game. I actually was more like this is a review game than a preview game, if that makes sense. Because it's more of a like, I want to see what you do. The Lions defense has been getting caught a little bit. You know, they're trying to run a lot of base. They're kind of getting caught in the pass game a little bit. I want to see how they rectify that against the Dallas Cowboys. And also just with the Cowboys. I want to see what you got. Matt and I have talked about it a little bit. All right, is this run game real with Rico Dowdle? Or are you going to play a little more Hunter Lipke, who is like one of my new favorite players in the league, Slash, I'm going to call him. He's Zoomer Slash, playing fullback, tight end, and running back for the Cowboys. Good player. But yeah, I just want to see what their next steps are. You know, the Cowboys had that good win. Dak played his ass off with a couple, botched moments, but came on strong. I want to see him going against this Cowboys or this Lions defense that's tough up front. Has some weaknesses though. So anything you're checking out with this game, like I said, it's more of a prove it game for me.
Yeah, the Cowboys, this is Cowboys defense. I feel like this is an ultimate gut check game. Like
another one.
Another one. Like you better buckle your chin strap and tighten those cleats because we know what the Lions want to do on offense. They want to mash you in the face and then throw play action off of it. To me, this seems like a game where the Lions could just go absolutely insane, where they run the ball, really trample the Cowboys, leave them stuck in the turf, and you move on to the next game. But I feel like if the Cowboys are going to win this game, to me, I think Dak's going to have to do some Superman stuff because this is a game to me where you could find yourself in a situation where you just don't even have the ball that much if you're Dallas, because they're in a spot where they're playing against maybe the offense outside of Baltimore, and we saw what happened versus Baltimore. The only offense that is uniquely built to absolutely kill the Cowboys is Detroit. So if you're going to be in a situation where it's 35, 40 minutes time of possession, that's going to make it harder on Dak. But he's good enough where maybe he can make something happen for you. It just seems tough to me that the Cowboys defense will be able to give them enough in this game where they can actually go home with a win.
No, it really is a good point because it's against the other teams. Matt and I talked about this a little bit. Was you always with the Cowboys offense, you're where are the explosive plays coming? All right, you guys can nickel and dime and everything. And it's just all right, but in this game, you might have to be a little bit more time of possession-y, and you can't make any mistakes. And it's just kind of all right, I'm talking out both sides of my mouth with the Cowboys offense with it. Also curious to see the Cowboys or the Lions are going to run a bunch of man coverage. All right, who's guarding CD? Is it Carlton Davis, Terry and Arnold? What how are they going to go after him, and who else is going to step up? I know people are high on Jalen Tolbert. I think he's fine. Who's going to guard Jake Ferguson? Is he going to go off? So the Cowboys have answers to pick at, but again, I love what you're saying, gut check. You're talking about the Cowboys defense, but it really is a testing ground, I think, every week for this team until I finally feel good about them. I don't want to give any Cowboys takes because I am not sure how I feel about them. I just do not know. I will say the Cowboys game did give me more takes about the Steelers. Enough. We need Jalen Warren back. Not enough Najee Harris touches.
Yeah,
they're wasted touches. I know, better receiver now but every run thing he's missing holes. He's slow to it. But I do want to say that. All righty, we are going to take our last break, and then we're going to hear from you guys with some mailbag questions. See you guys in a sec. We're back for the home stretch of Football 301. We are going to do mailbag questions. Excited. It's been a while. Going to hear from you guys. Again, that email for next time, do this about once a month, football301mailbag at yahoosports.com. So if you want to send in a question, I'll hopefully have another tweet about it. I don't know if I want to get to this first question about Younghoe Koo and why does he kick like that, but I couldn't tell you. I signed Younghoe Koo in the the Alliance League, and I was like, this guy's really good. He doesn't miss, but here he is still in the league. I'm not a kicking expert, but I know he changed his stance. Do you have any thoughts on Younghoe Koo?
He's awesome. He's been great so far, except when he wasn't, the first half of that Bucs game. He missed. Yeah, we got a chance to kick the field goal. Then there was like a penalty or a timeout. And he missed. Then he got a chance to re-kick it, and he missed again. I was like, okay. I thought that was gonna be one of those games for the Falcons, but I guess Kirk Cousins' magic solves all.
I'm telling you, they cancel each other out. Although a lot of Vikings fans are just making sure that it's Kirktober. This is where he looks good, apparently, in October. I know Vikings fans want to make sure you know that.
I've been telling Vikings and Chargers fans, like, we're cousins, man. Falcons, Vikings, Chargers. We're cousins because it's never going to be so bad that you don't want to watch it, but it's never going to be quite good enough to get you where you want to go. And that's the
Falcons and Vikings have a lot more in common. As someone that's been around both franchises, there's a lot. Oh man, dude, my adult life, my fandoms, because they switched with me and my dad. So it's Vikings, Jaguars, Bears, Falcons, and then Raiders. And I grew up spoiled. I had the late 90s, early 2000s Vikings. I had the Mariners that were rocking. The Timberwolves and Sonics were good. So I was spoiled, but it's all come crashing hard in my fandom. But sorry, Hunter. I wish we had more. We're not kicking experts, but that was the first question, a Younghoe Koo question. All right, next up. Didn't really talk about this game or talk about this team. Logan Bonifer asked, what is your take on Love's fit with LaFleur and his offense? The game plans for the games without Love were so fun and run heavy. Can both Love and LaFleur shine at the same time? You have any thoughts on this, Chuck? Because I
Mike don't want to play like that. He doesn't want to play like you had to play with Malik Willis was in the lineup.
No.
It's fun because it's fun because it's a novelty. It's not fun to do every 17 times a year. I don't think you should have any worries about like Love and LaFleur's fit, but yeah, like if you think that was fun, just go rewatch it because you don't want to be doing that 16, 17 times a year. That's awful.
Go watch Army or Navy this year if you want to watch that. If you want to watch the swing tee.
Navy might be throwing more than Malik Willis was.
They might. They seriously might. Logan, I totally get it. That was a fun little novelty for a couple of weeks, but why that usually can't work is usually you don't get game scripts like they had in those games where their defense was just getting turnovers. It's like, all right, whatever. Oh, cool. Another little hitch route going for 10 yards. This is great. That's why you kind of want to avoid that type of game plan, the Mac Jones versus the Bills game plan where you only throw 3 times. But I would say Love's fit with LaFleur is fantastic because this is an offense that I think is the type of offense you should have right now in the NFL. Them and what the Rams do. Pound the rock and then chuck it. And when I say chuck it, I don't just mean little bubbles and little stick routes and little quick. I mean chuck it 15 yards downfield, 20 yards downfield. Launch that thing. Yeah, you get lucky and get Jayden Reed way deep. Yeah, you throw picks sometimes. But the thing is, you're making up 6, 7, 8 first downs when some offenses are struggling just to put 3 successful plays together. And so I think this offense is great. I think they're really coming together, actually. And I think they're just going to keep ascending. I came away from watching that film, way more optimistic about the Packers offense because I know the pick six Love through. I know. But he was trying to do the smart thing on that. And it's just, he's going to try. Like, that's just the quarterback that he is. And I love it. And I think it's just going to really come together because I really do think the run game came together against the Rams and the chunk plays are starting to come together.
And just to Logan, I didn't mean to laugh at you, man. As someone who really enjoyed watching Danny Etling preseason games for the Falcons, I understand what you're going through, but I don't want to see Danny Etling start 17 games. You don't want to see Malik Willis start 17 games.
DJ Shockley?
Oh, Georgia and Falcons, great. That's right.
And like Atlanta legend. It feels
Atlanta
like he has like jobs everywhere. It feels like really nice guy. I met him, but that's the guy I think of too. But no, just keep the faith, Packers fans. You got a good offense. Just look, just wait. Going on to the next question from Mike Cross. The Eagles stink. How can they not be stinky? Please send in a prescription. That gives me hope. Charles, how can the Eagles not be stinky?
1, get healthy.
Yeah,
2,
I know. That's huge.
2, just prepare for Howie to do the same thing that he did to Carson Wentz with Jalen Hurts with another quarterback to Jalen Hurts. I'm calling. I've been ready to call since last year. Honestly, since the Super Bowl year, but that felt a little bit too soon. But
you mean when he was second team All Pro and everyone wanted to bring up how many turnovers he did not have, and apparently that's what made the good quarterback.
Like whatever, like this is gonna fall apart at some point because he doesn't do enough to elevate what's going on around him. And it's just like right, he hasn't developed. It's really basic stuff too that he still struggles with. I think the most telling sign is, Kellen Moore gets here and you're running the same exact offense as you were before. So like Jalen Hurts gets bucketed into the Russell Wilson class of quarterbacks, kind of where it doesn't matter who your OC is going to look the same. But with Russ, man, I knew at peak Russ, I could put anyone out there and we would have a good offense at least because we could actually do like some grown up things. But with this, I don't know, you're running like college stuff and like in a derogatory way, not like in the, we're bringing the fun concept stuff. It's like, oh, like we have to run RPO, like orbit RPO like 15 times a game because a quarterback can't read the field. So they'll be fine once they get healthy. Probably not a Super Bowl team, but I would just prepare yourself for Howie trying to figure out a way to get out of the Jalen Hurts contract.
So that was even harsher than I was going to go. I was going to talk about the defense and say, well, you need a whole offseason to fix that defense. Hopefully Jalen Carter makes a lot of plays. I think, and when you come out of bye, hopefully, Fangio will have some stuff for you to fix some of it. But I do think they just need reinforcements, and I don't know where those are coming from. I mean, they already moved on from, Devin White. Like that experiment didn't last long.
No.
So no.
I actually want to talk about that for a second because that's been really weird to me. Like people who've been shocked by the idea that Devin White could get cut by the Eagles, and I kind of think this goes back to the Super Bowl that they play against the Chiefs, where after that game, people were calling Devin White the best linebacker in football, and I'm like, well, that
number
was never
two,
true.
I think, in ESPN's rankings or something like that.
Yeah, he was number 2 on his own team. Like that was just never true.
No.
So I think people are still like grappling with the idea, like, whoa, how could someone who was like the best linebacker in football a few years ago be out of a job? Well, because he was never the best linebacker in football, and that was just an erroneous bad take by a lot of people who weren't watching any Bucs football that year.
He was a super role player. That defense was perfect, and what Todd Bowles did with him, and why he had a bunch of sack numbers. He's really fast. That's why he got drafted so high, is he would be in man coverage on the running back. If the running back stayed in to protect, he would just blitz the quarterback. So he was the master of the green dogs. And it was perfect. Like that was what he was good at. He'd run really fast. Don't make him think. It's what the Ravens did with Patrick Queen a little bit last year. It's just run, hit, go. Don't have to think. You're in man coverage. Don't have to do it. If Levante David was on the field, he was lost. And that was, it was just palpable when you watched it. So, yeah, I don't know why. Yeah, he has the titles, the stats, Super Bowl champ, and all that, high draft pick. But if you watched him even at the Bucs, he was never that type of guy. He was more just a Super Bowl guy. It's like Tony Pollard of linebackers, but I think Tony Pollard might be even better than that. I know. But a guy that everyone's like, well, he's really good, but he's like, yeah, but he can't do this, can't do this, can't do this. That's why he's never going to get to that level. So that's mean Tony Pollard, actually. All right, but going into the Eagles offense, though, I'm with you. That's always just going to be limited. This is how the offense is always going to feel. And I think some Eagles fans are figuring that out. But it's just that I was hoping to see more and hoping to see maybe that next step from Jalen Hurts but it just feels more of the same of last year, which is not good. He's not been good reading on quarterback read plays. He's a good scrambler, but he's not good on the design runs. And again, that was such an important element of him in this offense that taking that away is kind of just, all right, so what do you do? Throw go balls? All right, well, I don't know. We can get Tanner McKee to do that, like that. So, like, all right, let's get something. Yeah, right. That's what I mean, though. So why you pay this? It's yeah. I want to see how the second half of the year goes, but Next up, is it McKeever? McKeever has our first voicemail on the mailbag. Producer Stone, you want to drop that in?
Hey, Nate, Charles, and Matt. Big fan of the show. Long time suffering Bills fan here, and I just wanted to ask if you think there's a chance that they get Devontae Adams or Amari Cooper, and just kind of as a bigger discussion, what big offensive trade moves do you see happening at the deadline coming up, and what teams would you like to see add some value?
Well, you already gave your Jacoby Brissett to the Browns.
Yeah.
So that's one.
To answer the first question, do the Bills make a trade? No, probably not.
I don't think so.
I don't think so. I think they're fine just slogging through this year as it is. Like, we all know it's a retooling year.
Yeah.
Do you really need to go get Devontae Adams?
You might win the division in a retool year. That's
right.
You're sitting okay.
You're sitting okay.
Buffalo.
You're sitting okay. And like depending on how like this middle portion of the season breaks for you, you might win the division by a good amount of wins. Honestly, like Monday's pretty big. That's gonna start to define things. But Dolphins are not playing real football. The Patriots are rebuilding. Like the Jets are. We seen what happened with the Jets this week. So I think you should feel pretty okay about the Bills standing pat with no trade. But
yeah,
like Devontae to the Jets, that still seems like something that could possibly happen.
That it was funny that it was kind of getting leaked. Like Devontae wanted to go to the Jets or the Saints, his former quarterbacks. And then Derek Carr gets hurt. The Jets fired their head coach. It was, man. I had a pretty stinky curse last week when I went on NFL Network and I said, "Oh yeah, Nico Collins, Offensive Player of the Year, gets hurt," and then the other guy named guy I highlighted the whole show was Aaron Jones, who also got hurt. So
perfect.
Snipe. Yeah, I'm so bad at projecting the trades because it's not like the NBA where you can just do the trade machine with the contracts and everything's locked. Yeah, you can do some funny stuff with it, but everything has to kind of be one for one. There's some rule changes. I read too much of the contract stuff, but the NFL, some teams can eat it. It's based on the base salary stuff. So it's like, okay, yeah, they don't have enough room, but they can do things to get room, or they might not want to use that room because they want to carry it over, things like that. So that's why it's hard for me to ever project it. I can see Amari Cooper getting moved. But the thing is, the Browns seem like they're in a world where they're just going like, no, we're good. Like, I mean, just
everything's fine, guys.
Everything's fine. What are you guys talking about? Like they're acting like it's business as usual.
It's like the more you say it, the more you say it, the better things just turn out to be, I guess,
Yeah. Everyone saw it. Everyone watched that game. Everyone saw what was going on. I mean, you guys just traded for Jerry Jeudy and paid him. And it's like, I don't know. Yeah, so I don't know what they're going to do as sellers or anything. I would like to see Cooper moved, like maybe to the Bills or something, but I don't know if that's going to happen. So sorry to not answer that question, but we still kind of got to talk about it. All right, next one up is from Noah L. QBs are taught to look off the safety. Why do safeties linebackers still follow their eyes? Shouldn't it be clear that the direction they're looking is not a tell? As a quarterback, are you taught to only look off the safety? Sometimes so they bite when you do. Okay, I'll answer this one to start. Plays happen quick. So that is why that's why look at basketball. Everyone bites the LeBron's eyes, even if he has the most telegraphed no look passes ever. I can't believe I just insulted LeBron somehow there. But but really what it is a lot of people are like, oh, I've noticed this a lot, especially during the draft process. He locks in on his receiver a lot. Most guys, because the play happens in 2 seconds that the ball gets you get rid of the ball, you're not really looking anyone off unless it's a play usually when there's a high safety, like a post safety. So that is when you look a safety off, because usually Caleb Williams' touchdown to DJ Moore is an amazing example this past week. It's a double pump move or a pump and go move to one side, I think to his Keenan Allen. He looks, because it's a single high safety, the Panthers safety sprints over there, and then there's DJ Moore on the post that he replaces right there. That is looking off the safety, but that only happens on vertical routes like that. And yes, great point though, bringing up that the older coach or the older players do get to that point. That's something Tom Brady was the master of. Stafford's really good at it. Rodgers is good at it. Mahomes has gotten pretty good at it. You see guys at that layers. Joe Burrow has gotten pretty good at it, where they kind of just, I think we did a study one time where it was like Tom Brady did not look at his actual target 90% of his dropbacks. It was something like that. Like he did it like every play. That's Tom Brady. Right. Most guys are about a step down from that. But really it's more, you're confirming the look when you see a quarterback staring. And usually if it's a quick game, they're going to stare, because the only time you look guys off is high lows, the Matthew Stafford throws, because you're tying down the linebacker. That's when you look off the linebacker's high lows. So it's a long-winded way to answer it, but look off safeties when it's single high, look off linebackers when it's a high-low concept, look off corners when it's a smash concept, which is a high-low on the outside. But it usually doesn't happen as much as people think. I think it's one of the more exaggerated aspects of quarterback play.
That's what I was going to say. I was like, well, one, like just looking from a defensive perspective, one, because I'm greedy and I want to make the play. And second, most of the time, I'm going to be heading in the right direction if I follow your eyes. Because like you said, if you're going to be a quarter, we talk about the first read stats all the time. I mean, that's just like play design most of the time. Like it's not really a big deal. So if I see the quarterback like catch the ball and like look right, yeah, like we're all going to shift over in that direction because most of the time that's where the ball is going. And then in circumstances like you put out, yeah, sometimes you get got on the other end, but most of the time you will be heading in the right direction if you follow their eyes. You're going to have to get beat on that sometimes, but you want to get your hands on the ball or not? Go make a play.
Well, it's like, yeah, Stafford can get away with throwing no-look passes. And it's like, why does everyone fall for it? It's like, because when they play any other quarterback, they're getting a pick there. Like that is why they jump. And like you said, it's just how it goes. And things happen so quick. That's why guys still bite on it, because that's how quick you have to react to things to make plays on defense. If you're the Any Given Sunday, Al Pacino, when he was talking about you're quarter inch, you're a quarter second slow or anything, is 1,000,000,000% true. Like that is exactly how the NFL is. It's one of the more realistic things in that movie, which actually is pretty good. But yeah, I do think the looking off the guys has been exaggerated. I think from on the outside perspective, but you do still do it sometimes. All right, next question from Ryan N. I keep thinking about your podcast name, Football 301. Thanks. And coming back to the same question, who would be the faculty teaching the doctoral level classes in different parts of football? If you were the head of the college of football at NFL University, who would be your faculty in the main facets of the game? You have any ones? I have a couple.
I don't really have a specific name here, but whoever is coaching the Ravens front seven, like specifically the interior guys and the outside guys, I want that guy on my staff. Okay. They've had a lot of guys over the years, and outside of like I feel like a small stretch, like in mid 2000s when their defense was like legitimately terrible, like when Joe Flacco was still a quarterback, you're always getting solid play from the defensive tackles. You're always getting solid plays from like the edge guys, even if they're not like standout guys. And I remember one time at the combine. When Ozzie Newsome was still the GM, I asked him about. I was like, how like where are you, like what are you looking at to get all these like late round draft hits on the defensive line? He was like, well, if I knew that, I'd be taking them a lot higher than I was. And I was like, fair point. So to me, they're doing something right as far as player development. Their defensive line coach right now is Dennis Johnson. He's only been there for a year. Defensive line's been pretty solid, especially versus the run. I don't know who was before that or who was on the Mike Mack staff, but that guy was pretty good too. And whoever was before him was pretty good too. So just a theme, Ravens defensive line, front seven coach.
You're drafting by helmet or
helmet,
yep. Yeah. I went with it's kind of the names you'd expect. Like it'd be like Spags at DBs. I think he's just so good. Look at what he's done the last couple of years with all those kind of like you said, day three guys, with the Ravens and stuff. So Spags for DBs. I'm biased. I would say this guy named Mike Tice for offensive line.
I'm about to say, how could you not put him there if you didn't?
I know. Wade Harmon is the guy that was a long-time assistant at tight ends coach. I'm trying to think. Oh, running backs. Bobby Turner.
Bobby Turner for
Bobby
sure.
T at running backs. Bobby Turner is the long time Shanahan assistant, first for Mike and then Kyle. I worked with him in Atlanta, and also a actual savant in running back scouting. And I could say that because him and I both like Tevin Coleman. So that's why I'm saying that. He made me feel smart. But Bobby T, receivers, Kyle Shanahan. He's incredible with receivers. Watch how detailed those 49ers receivers are, or anywhere he's ever been. Atlanta, Cleveland, Houston before that, like Washington. All the receivers are always detailed. So actually Kyle Shanahan coaching receivers. I'm trying to think who else. Kasarik, the 49ers defensive line coach. So three coaches from the 49ers staff.
I didn't know how to pronounce his name.
Chris Kasarik, I believe it is.
Kasarik, yeah, because I was going to butcher it. I was like, let me not.
Yeah. Special teams, Dave Tobe, who's the Chiefs special teams coach, long time. Yeah, so we got two guys from the Chiefs staff. Either Harbaugh, really. Like, man, I know. Both of the Harbaughs would be good to have in there. I don't know about Jim. I don't know
Jay?
if I want to teach.
Well, actually, no, not Jay.
Yeah. Yeah, no, what else we got in there? Jack, too. I could keep going with this one. I like this question, but those are the ones that came to mind for me. Linebackers, Rod Marinelli, maybe. Rod Marinelli for
man, we are showing our age on that one.
Dude, I know. Name good coaches from 2010. That's like kind of what I'm doing here. So really showing my age. LaFleur, Matt LaFleur, quarterbacks.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
I easily would say that one. So did I cover every position? Close enough. But yeah, those are ones that came to mind. We are going to give
again in a month. We'll be better.
Yeah, there was some better ones. It's not like we looked at these. All right, Stone, let's get to another audio or another voicemail. This one from Felix.
Greetings from Montreal, Canada. What's the difference between a receiver and a tight end in 2024? Essentially, right, as I see guys like Kyle Pitts and Sam Laporta, which are deployed all over the field like receivers, and but they don't really block. I'm like, why is that guy just not a receiver? So I was wondering if you could educate me on the distinction between the two, and is that distinction getting slimmer to the day? So thanks a lot. Have a nice one.
I like that. I think, do you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, when I heard Montreal, I just immediately thought of our friend Seth Galina.
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah. At first I was a prank, but I was like, I don't think he's doing a prank. Not yet.
Not yet.
But I think I would say the reasons why you're not seeing more tight ends flex out to receivers because they're just not threats to cornerbacks, really. You
have the passive threshold.
Right. Yeah. They're not it's not even always just not fast enough. It's just there's a lot of skill that goes into playing wide receiver that you aren't necessarily learning when you're also splitting, when you're also spending time at tight end. So people ask about why don't the Falcons just put Kyle Pitts out at wide receiver? It's because he doesn't play wide receiver. I don't know.
Right. It's kind of his own thing.
He hasn't learned it yet.
Yeah, I like at the end there, Felix, you said is the difference becoming slimmer? And I would actually, that's where I think some of it is too. Some of the college, offenses, we can find a bunch of 230-pound guys. You can't find a lot of 255-pound guys that can run, catch, and are smart. Right. That's what Mike Leach said. He goes, tight ends are great if you find them. He was like, yeah, 12 personnel is awesome. I would love to run 12 personnel. You got two tight ends? You got two guys I could trot out there every play. It's hard. Those are some of the best athletes on the field. You have to be incredibly athletic. You have to be, but now the intelligence level for that position is you have to know the pass game. You have to know protections. You have to know the run game. You have, even the coaches at tight ends have become a lot more intelligent. They used to be the spot you can hide guys. Now on the staff, that's the head coach's brother or brother-in-law, college teammate was coaching tight ends. Not anymore. You need a dude there. Usually those guys end up becoming the quarterback coaches. But that's just from a mental standpoint. But yeah, physically, there are smaller tight ends that are succeeding now because coaches are kind of letting them. We're getting more creative. You're not having Sam Laporta block, badass DN on every play. You split them out, do other things. So I think that's where some of the merger has come. Then you get more receivers getting asked to down block. And I think that's some of the Shanahan influence where McVay as well with the 11.5 personnel stuff. So that's where some ideas have merged because defenses are kind of going well, if you're in 11, you do this. If you're in 12, you do this. So offenses go, how do we invert that? How do we do 3 receiver looks out of 2 tight ends? How do we do 2 tight end looks with 3 receivers? So that's where some mergers has come X's and O's wise. And I think just body types are that power slots are becoming a thing. Big 215-pound receivers. Those are essentially what we used to call tight ends. That used to be the F tight end, the second tight end. But now it's just, that's the third receiver. Those guys used to be 5'9", 180. So it's kind of more the second tight end and the third receiver have merged. Kind of role wise, player type, kind of sort of wise, but that's where we really see that adjuster kind of merging. But you could spend a whole show on just that. Every aspect. We'll finish with one last question from James Rogers, which is also tight end related. So we'll wrap this up with another tight end question, which is, could you guys dive into what's going on with tight end production seemingly being down across the board this season? You have any thoughts on that? I didn't really marinate on this one, but I'm
neither. I was going to say the same stuff. I think there's not a whole lot of guys that can do both. I think you're also seeing guys who we've seen as established guys start to fall off. Mark Andrews, Travis Kelce, George Kittle's getting up there, and there hasn't been anyone to replace him, really. We thought Kyle Pitts was going to be that guy, but I think he's been too hampered by injuries to kind of reach the potential there. And Sam Laporta's a cool player, so you kind of looking at like Laporta.
McBride's been fine, but not like overwhelming. Fine. Yeah.
Right. So I guess like your biggest hope is probably like Brock Bowers right now. But
Tucker Kraft.
Tucker Kraft.
Yeah.
So that's a good one. Saving my fantasy team.
Dude, I might say this. I don't think I'm scared to say it. He's like a top 6 tight end in the league right now. He rocks. Tucker Kraft, man. I'm trying to trade for him in every dynasty league, and I can't get him into any of them.
But like, and also an answer to the question is like, if you told me almost any tight end that was putting up quality numbers, the top 6 tight end, I'd be like, sure. Because there's not many of them, you know? So it's really hard to find guys who can block and understand protections and also understand how to run routes and catch the ball and make plays after the catch. So we saw a little golden era. I think it's kind of the same thing with the quarterbacks we're seeing. A bunch of guys have gotten over the hill, and we're just waiting for the new blood to kind of actually establish himself in the NFL.
And there's a couple coming in this next class too. There's Mason Taylor from LSU, who I really like. Jason Taylor's son. Yes.
Son.
And he's married to Zach Thomas's sister.
Yes. I mean, there's also Jason the second, who's a safety, I think at Arizona.
He's a safety? Wow.
Yeah.
Because Mason,
tight end.
yeah, because Mason, you get like he looks like Jason Taylor playing tight end. Like he's good. God, I like so many LSU guys this year. But you also got Loveland from Michigan, who's a good player. You got tight end for Notre Dame. I'm blanking on his name right now. He's also interesting. Mitchell Evans, I believe it is. There's some guys coming up, but like you said, there's just guys have dropped off. Mark Andrews dropping off is a big deal. You know, that guy was looking like the number 2 guy behind Kelsey for a minute, along with Kittle maybe as well. So yeah, we're just kind of waiting for that. I also think it's some scheme stuff. A lot of tight ends are staying in to protect. A lot of guys are chip helping. That's going to reduce, yards you can get because it's going to take you a sec before you get out on the route. So I think some of that is part of it too, where offenses are attacking, shorter, that the tight end routes where you can get chunks, the seams, maybe a dig are kind of just going, why don't we just get the number 2 receiver to do that as opposed to the tight end? So again, it's that merger of ideas between the receivers and tight ends. Maybe it's hit some of these tight ends that haven't really found that role because they were just like, let's just give it to the receiver. So good questions. Good job, guys. Appreciate it. That'll do it for this week's episode, our week 6 preview. We are closing it out today. Matt and I will be back next Tuesday to recap week 6. I'm Nate Tice. You can find me at Nate_Tice. That's my cat Midge, if you can hear her. And you are Charles McDonald. Chuck, where can they find you? What'd you work on this week?
Wow, a lot of stuff. Check out Four Birds Column. I did a breakdown of like the John Gruden TikTok video.
We didn't even talk about it yet.
Oh yeah, we had a whole bit planned that we just totally forgot about. But yeah, if you just go to my page on Four Verts on Twitter, it's just all over my page. It just kind of broke my brain when I get into these ruts where something is obsessing and stuck in my brain. I just have to get it out, and the way I can get it out is just by continuing to post about it. So couldn't even do that in pregame warmups, but I can do it on the podcast.
Got you feeling nicey. Every single one. I've watched that video so many times. I showed it to my wife and she was like, is he okay? I was like, I don't know, but I'm loving it. Just your breakdown too about how he lost like 10% of his enthusiasm on each quarterback.
each go. Because at first he's like, yeah, I'm way overstimulated, and then by the time he gets to the end, he's just like, okay, done.
Oh, shred 'em, Stroud. Oh man, if you guys enjoyed this show, or if you enjoy Football 301, please subscribe to us. Please follow us. Please rate us, whether it's your podcast or on YouTube. You can watch us on YouTube on the Yahoo Sports YouTube channel. Also follow Yahoo Sports on Snapchat. Did not get any review questions. So that little bait I did for the mailbag, I was like, hey, leave a review with a question. Got an offer there. So did not really work out for that. But hopefully we'll leave some more reviews, hopefully positive ones. I really appreciate everyone that's been checking out this show. I want to thanks also to Brett Stonanati behind the scenes, everybody that helps us out, get Football 301 off the ground. Hope everyone enjoys their weekend. Thanks for listening. See you guys next week.